4D Olaf with a removable nose acrylic nail art tutorial by Hotpinkzebrapolish.
Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to show you a 4D Olaf from Frozen. So the 4D element here is that his nose is removable, just like Sven decided to have a little snack. So you can either have the nose on or take it off. It actually holds on really well, so I wouldn't be at all worried about it coming off when you didn't want it to, unless you actually pop it off. So yeah, that's kind of nice. Otherwise, I hope you guys like this design, especially if you are a Frozen fan. An Olaf design has been requested of me countless times, and I've kind of been reluctant to do it. But I did it, so there you guys go. I hope you guys like it, and don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well.
So I'm going to begin with an overlay of a light blue acrylic. When you're creating your overlay, I really like this light blue with the snowman. However, if you wanted it to be Olaf to be a bit more pop-off visible on the nail, you might want to go with a slightly darker blue just so that it shows up a little bit more. And as you can see, my blue acrylic, I don't know, this particular color of acrylic, and I keep using it because light blue is so prevalent for these wintry scenes. Some of the pigment does not very well mixed into it, and there's like these little clumps of pigment that all of a sudden show up. So those cause wonderful little issues like that. But then I took and I attached 3 snowflake glitters up along the cuticle. They're really gorgeous blue iridescent snowflakes that just were perfect for this Frozen themed design. And then I'm going to encase the entire nail with a layer of clear acrylic to make sure that it is nice and strong. Then I filed the nail into shape with my E-file. I started out with a pretty coarse bit to remove any bulk, and then I'm going to switch to a much finer bit to make it so much easier to sculpt and paint on, and this is basically buffing it so that it has a nice smooth surface. So now I'm going to begin with white acrylic, and I'm going to be sculpting my Olaf. So I'm going to start with his head, and then while that acrylic is still wet, I'm going to grab a small magnet and I'm going to be placing it where his nose will be when it is attached. So just grab that magnet and place it, you can kind of eyeball where you think his nose is going to be and just set that in there. And then I'm going to start carving away his smile area. So just kind of push your brush in and sort of flick up a little bit of that white acrylic to start where his upper lip or his, the top of his mouth goes, because you want that to come out from the nail and be nice and 3D. And then add the 2 sections of his body. Because of the placement on the nail, I don't have his entire bottom body area, just that little top of it. So, fit whatever you can on the nail. Depending on if your nail's longer, you may fit the entire Olaf on there. But you do need to make sure that the Olaf face is large enough for that magnet and the nose to be, so that it can be removed. Then I'm going to fill in his mouth with some dark blue and just a smidge of some black acrylic, just to add a little bit of a shadow on there. Then I'm going to take more white acrylic and build up around his mouth a little. I did more of this later, but I just kind of started right on his chin just to kind of add that area. And then I'm going to be building up his mouth, or that upper lip, with significant amounts of acrylic, but in small little doses. So I grabbed a bead of acrylic that's that white and just sort of set it on there. As you're doing this, make sure that you don't get any more acrylic on top of your magnet. You want your magnet to be as open as it can be, so that when you place the nose on there, it gets a really nice firm hold. So just keep adding those little bits of white acrylic to build up his lip area and then around his mouth. So when you're doing this, make sure your acrylic isn't too stiff. So you're doing little beads continually on there, and just keep adding them and sort of stretch them around the mouth. After you have it where you think it's good, then you can add a little bit more acrylic to add some more details over the body, so you kind of make it look a little bit more 3D there too. So the first layer that I added of that white acrylic for his head and his body was just like the sketching layer, just the very first layer to get the shapes down. Later on, I like to go through and add more 3D to it. Then I'm going to be adding his eyes above that magnet for his nose. So just 2 small beads of white. All of the detail and all the color will come later with those, and I did those with paint instead of acrylic. Then the last little detail for the acrylic on his face is going to be adding his teeth with white acrylic inside his mouth. So just add those just like that, square him up a little bit, and then add 2 beads of black acrylic for his little coal buttons. When you're doing this, don't pat your acrylic. Make sure it kind of leaves that crystally shape on there so that they look a little bit rough and coal-like. Then on a nail form backing, I'm going to be sculpting out his nose with orange acrylic. And then after that, I'm going to place another magnet over the one that's in the nail, then take and add some nail glue, just a tiny bit, on the end of the carrot nose after that's completely set up, and then hold that onto the magnet. So you need to make sure that the only things that are touching the glue are the magnet that's outside the nail and the carrot. So you don't want to get any glue on Olaf himself anywhere. After that glue has set, you can take the nose, the carrot nose, and the magnet off the nail, and then secure the carrot to the magnet with much more orange acrylic. And I like to kind of cover up the magnet with just a very, very thin layer of the orange acrylic so that you can't see it anymore. So now going back to my Olaf, I'm going to start painting all of his little brown details. So those are all of the sticks. So for the sticks, he's got stick arms. So I'm going to start with those, and then I'm going to be adding his hair and his eyebrows. So there are his eyebrows, and you already have his eyes in place that you did 3D with the acrylic. So adding the eyebrows, you just have to add those right above, and they're nice, expressive, thick, detailed eyebrows there. Add his little bits of hair. Then with some diluted blue paint, I'm going to be sort of shading around his eyes with some of that, as well as a little bit on his body sections just to define them. And then I'm going to take some just straight white paint, and I'm going to be adding details here and there all over my Olaf just to brighten him up. The first thing you're going to do is I just added a layer over his eyes to, like I said, brighten him, make him a little bit more sunny and all of that jazz. And then you also need to make sure you paint over the magnet that is under where his nose will go. The reason you need to do that is because otherwise you're going to see this nice silver circle when you take his nose off, and that kind of loses some of the effect. So you need to paint over it so that you never know there's a magnet under there. And also just kind of add some shine and some bright little highlights here and there all over your Olaf. I also added a little bit of a blue shadow under where his nose will go. So just, paint with your best discretion there. Then I'm going to be adding some black outlines specifically around his sticks just to make them show up a little bit better. So on his arms, his hair, and his eyebrows, just like so. You're also going to need to add the upper eyelid, just like a little bit of a line to define that, give him more expressive eyes with the black lines, and then his pupils also you need to add with black, so just 2 nice little black dots in there like so. I'm going to touch up my one because the one black dot turned more into a black spot or a black oval. Little white highlights, and then apply some gel sealer over your background. That's going to make those snowflake glitters really shine and show up really nice. And then matte top coat over the rest of your 3D Olaf. And that is it. You don't need to worry about applying any top coat over the carrot nose because there's no paint on it. You don't have to worry about it. And that is it. I love the way this guy turned out. I think he is the cutest little Olaf I've seen. I hope you guys like it as much as I do. And please share any recreations with me on Facebook or Instagram. I would love to see them. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!